Welcome to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Our mission is to bring you discussions on a wide array of topics in the coaching world to grow players on and off the court. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and also reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Coach Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for another episode, wherever in the world you're listening to us from, whatever platform y'all are listening to us on. As always, thank you guys so much for the support, the kind messages, the tweets, all the love you've kind of sent the show's way. Keep those coming. And as always, thank you guys so much for checking out this episode right here. What we're going to talk about today is talking about getting players to be a star, getting players to be successful in their role. You all know as listeners that not every player's role is going to be equal. There's going to be different expectations for different players. But of course, we want our players to be the best they can be, to be stars, to be successful in whatever role that they're in and whatever their spot on the team is going to be. And that's what we're going to get into today. So this will be a real informative episode. This will be a lot of fun. And hopefully all of y'all listening will be able to take this and get your players, no matter what role they're in, get them to that next level and being successful, being stars, and really owning whatever that role is that they have for your team. So, of course, I don't do this alone. Very happy to be joined by the head coach at Bedford Academy. All the way coming from New York, Coach Rob Phelps is joining us today. Coach, appreciate you coming on. How are things going?
Great. Thank you. I appreciate you having me, and hopefully we can have some fun, talk some hoops, and people can learn something from this.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. Loving it. Looking forward to it. Let's start, Coach, with your basketball and your coaching journey. So where did this game of basketball take you, and how did you ultimately end up at Bedford Academy?
Well, just to take it back, I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, and I've been playing basketball ever since I was about maybe 8 to 9 years old. Grew up in a rough area of Brownsville, Brooklyn. But that's how we became so tough out of there. And people not familiar with Brownsville, Rolando Blackman came from there. Mike Tyson comes from there. Pearl Washington comes from there, and I can go on and on. There's so many great basketball players that come from Brooklyn. So we could be on here all day just talking about the players that come out of Brooklyn. But just in that area, that's where I'm from. And from that journey, I went on to Nazareth High School. That's where the great Mike Dunleavy went, and Stuart Granger. And I wound up being the all-time leading scorer there at Nazareth, and also a top 15 scorer in the state of New York. I was an all-city, all-American player. From there, I got a full scholarship to Providence. I played at Providence for 4 years, and my teammates were Eric Williams with the Boston Celtics, Dickie Simpkins with the Chicago Bulls, Mike Smith with the Sacramento Kings, and also Austin Crochet, who played with me he played at Providence. He was a freshman when I was there, but he played with the Indiana Pacers. So I played with a lot of great players. And then from there, I went over to play overseas for 12 years, all over the country, all over in Europe, Italy, Spain, Asia, Japan. I mean, I could go on and on. And then from there, I came back home, got my master's degree in education. And I've been working in New York City and Brooklyn. I came back to Brooklyn, and I've been there for the past 15 to 16. It's going to be my 16th year. And I've been coaching there ever since, and I love it. Just seeing kids giving back to the community and see them doing well, going on to college and coming back and telling some stories. So it's that's a little bit of my journey and how I got where I'm at right now.
That's fantastic. And I imagine you get to take and probably share with your players, right? A lot of the experiences you had playing for as long as you did. I'm sure that you can and probably do, right? Right, share a lot of stories, share your experience, and hopefully have your players, learn and be able to grow from the things that you experienced and saw through the game.
Oh yes, definitely. One of the main things I tell my guys that you can have all the talent in the world, you can have all the skill in the world, but the number one thing you have to be a great listener, and you have to be coachable. You have to be open-minded and be willing to listen and learn, because there's so many aspects aspects to this game that you really, as a young player, don't know about. So that's one of the things I preach to my guys, that you really have to be coachable and learn. And I've learned from greats. I've had Rick Barnes was my coach, who's now at Tennessee. He coached me at Providence. Fran Fraschilla, people watch ESPN, they see him all the time. I had Dennis Felton, who's back at Providence right now. Dan Gavitt, if none of you guys don't know who Dan Gavitt is, that's Dave Gavitt's son. He was the first founder of the Big East. He was my coach at Providence as well. He's now the president of the NCAA, of all the rule changes. So I have a wealth of knowledge and things that I've learned from the great coaches that I've had over the years.
Yeah, and that's awesome, and there's so many experiences. I definitely that you can draw on from that. So much knowledge that you have that you can draw from, and I think like as all of us as coaches, right? We take from everybody that we work with, take for everybody that we play with, and I think that's one of the coolest parts about coaching is we can just take those best parts of everybody and then like put that into what it is that we do, and that's such a great feeling to know that what you're doing is just a continuation from the great people that you had before you.
Oh yeah, definitely. I take from them especially my high school coach. My high school
Hmm.
coach was the guy that really got me started. Coach Ted Gustis. He was one of the guys that really got me started, and then I just learned on and on. And also, I had great coaches in Europe and everything. And like you said, I take a little bit from everybody.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've learned that you better come ready to play, and you better be intense. You can't come out there lackadaisical, because where I come from, everybody is a wolf and they're ready to take your head off. So you better be ready to play.
No, yeah, that's for sure. Especially I know out in that area, out where y'all are. I know that's definitely the case.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I wanted to ask you, because I know that's one of the things that you're passionate about is about shooting, and I
Yes.
wanted to ask you about, in your experience, what gets players to become better shooters? What could we as coaches do with our players to help them improve on their shot?
Well, the number one thing is that you really, really got to spend time in the gym. And when I say time, I mean quality time. A lot of guys come out and they're just shooting. You got to have a plan when you go out there and shoot. You're going to have particular spots you're going to shoot from. You're going to have a goal of how many shots you want to make. You got to have, me personally, if you don't have one of them shooting machines, you got to have a great partner, somebody that's going to compete with you. You want to make it fun and challenging. That's one of the things that I do with my team, and you have to get a lot of reps up, because shooting is really nothing but muscle memory, and seeing that ball go in the basket. And then once you see those things happen to you, then you build those confidence. Your confidence builds up, because that's one of the things that I did. I was a two guard. At
Hmm.
Providence, and one of the things that I did was spent a lot of time just shooting, getting the reps in, and like I said, really going in there with the plan, because a lot of guys just going in, they just want to take, oh, I want to get 500 shots. Well, if you ain't getting 500 quality shots up, it doesn't really mean anything. So it's the quality, it's the reps, and make it competitive. You want to
Yeah.
make it competitive, because when you go out there and you're shooting, you want to go out there to compete, to win, to make shots. Anybody could just throw up shots and you're missing shots. You're not getting anything out of it. So you want to make it competitive. You want to compete against yourself if you don't have a partner. But if you do have a partner, you want to make it a competition. And that's the way you see that ball going in, and you can just see the reps going in, and that's going to get you game ready as well. And you want to take game shots at game speed. So once you're doing those things, I think that can make you a much better shooter than what you are.
And that's funny because I talk to so many people on here who kind of share that same sentiment and talk about getting shots up, and we talk a lot about, and it's exactly kind of what you said about the reps that you get, right? Game speed, the type of
Yep.
shots that you're getting, because I know that so many of us, we can get our guys or our girls like kind of on a shooting gun, but they're kind of
Yep.
shooting, but they're not really going quick, they're not really going at
Right.
game pace, they're not getting the shots they'd get in a game, or
Right.
for I know in my experience too, and I'm sure you have this too, one of the big things with my players is making sure that, they're moving without the ball and then getting into
Definitely.
their shot and whatever. So it's, I love when they can do stationary shots when they're not tired standing in place, but I need them,
Right.
moving. I need them doing all these sort of things. And so it sounds like you're really big on that, game like
Yeah, well, that's
situation.
game. That's game situation stuff. I mean, you are going to get game situations where you're going to be, got to be shot ready to be
Hmm.
catch and shoot. But it's also, you got to be able to move. The best way to be a best scorer is to move without the ball. Because like I said before, not too many people going to be really, maybe one, maybe two guys are going to really be handling the ball. So you got to be ready to move out the ball, be ready to have to get that ball and be ready to catch, be able to shoot it, take one or two dribbles, because you're not going to take two or three dribbles to get to the, I mean, three or four dribbles to get to the basket. You're going to have a 7-footer there waiting on you. So you better be ready to stop and pop, pull up on a dime, or be able to move and get that shot off quickly because it's not really that much time to mess around with the
Yeah.
ball.
No, I like that idea though, like you said about making it a competition. You know, a player, I know
Yeah.
at least I'm sure yours is the same way. Players love anything that's a competition, anything that
Yep.
gets them competing against each other. Like all the results, I feel like are so much better when they're going
Yeah,
after each
I
other.
make it. I make the games fun. I say, yo, whoever can beat this guy, we might have a competition, maybe a free throw. Who can make the most shots, make more free throws? I'd say, yo, Gatorade's on me, or something simple, or if you could make the next shot, I get you. In New York, a bacon, egg, and cheese is valued really big here in New York. So I say, I got you for the bacon, egg, and cheese. So you make it fun and you make it competitive, and give them a reward for it, and they
Yeah.
want to keep doing it. So those are kind of the tricks and trades of kind of what I do. If that can help some coaches out there, make it competitive, make it fun. And then as a coach, we spend money all the time anyway. So let's spend some money on that shooting. I know coaches, we spend a lot of money. So spend some money on that shooting. It's going to help us get some wins. So it'd be great.
That's a good return on that investment. Put a little money on some of those
Exactly.
bacon, eggs, and cheese,
Yeah,
and get some more
bacon, egg,
shots
and
in.
cheese. That's right. Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
great. So as we kind of moving into the topic of coaching players to be a star in their role, I wanted you to kind of start with about talking about your program and kind of the conversations that you have with your players about what their role is. So what does that kind of go into where you're talking to your guys about what their role is and making sure that they're excited, making sure that they're fully committed to doing whatever their responsibility is on the court?
Well, that's a great point. Well, one of the things is that everybody here, in the high level college basketball and the pros, they say, yo, he's a really good role player or he's a star in his role. So what I do is right before we even get started or doing anything, and we do our assessments and everything, and I'll see what somebody can do really well, and I just let them know. I said, don't you know you're a really good rebounder? And that guy might think he's a B. I say you're a much better rebounder than you are a shooter. You really need to focus on being a rebounder. That's probably going to get you a lot more minutes. And everybody wants to be on the floor. So once I let him know they can do that, and that's going to give him some more minutes, he's going to focus really on just being a really good rebounder. So once I go and start, and I go down the line with each guy, and I explain that to them, I let them know that. Some guys understand it, some guys don't. So the guys that understand it, and when they see that guy is out there more or out there playing and doing everything because he's a star in his role, that would make that other player say, do that. So that coach is telling me to do this. This guy's on the floor more than me. Why is he on the floor more than me? Because he's a star in his role. He's going out there, he's rebounding the ball, or this guy's a nice, good catch and shoot guy, and he's doing that all the time, and he's making shots, and he's playing good defense. So once you tell them that, and they're doing that, and you giving them those more minutes, actually, you're not really giving it to them. They're earning those
Earning it.
minutes.
Mhm.
Those other guys will follow and want to be a star in that role, whatever it may be.
So that's like the big key, it seems like for you, is the playing time aspect. Like this is what has to have this is what you're gonna be doing well, and this is how you get minutes, and this is like what you got to do to stay on the court or earn those minutes on the court.
Exactly, because all the guys want to play. You have guys that's going out there and they always say, "I don't understand why I'm taken out. Why did you take me out? Or what did I do wrong?" Well, we said that the number one thing you're supposed to do first, you got to go out there and rebound. Or you get a guy that's a really good charge taker. They go, but he's not really. He's only averaging 2 points a game, but he's averaging 5 charges a game. So that's why he's on the court. So when you break it down like that to those guys, I think they really understand it, and at least with my guys, they understand it, and they want to be a starting role because they want to get minutes. Everybody wants to play. The reality is that everybody's not going to play, but if you out there doing what you're supposed to do and being a star in your role, that's what that being a really good role player when playing your role to the best of your ability, that's going to get you on the court. And everybody wants to be on the court. We know that they want minutes.
And to kind of follow up with that point, then when you're having those conversations with your players, are you telling is it a situation where it's like that this is where I see you and this is your role, but you could also, if you improve on these other aspects, you could also be asked to like do this, or you might get an increased, responsibility or increased role. Like is there that opportunity for, expanding what that role is?
Oh yeah, definitely. You definitely have a opportunity to do that because if they start their at their role and they're doing that and they're getting on the court, but they're going to show me that in practice. I
Hmm.
always tell guys, once you show me you can be a star in this, and then you're capable of doing that, and you show me that in practice, now when we get in the game, you're going to expand because you're showing me you can do it in practice. I don't want surprises. I want you to show me what you're really great at and what you can do, but you got to show me that in practice. Because now we get in the game, I'm like, what? I never see you do that before. What the hell are we doing? This is not what we're doing. But once you show me you could do certain things in practice, I'm expect you to do those things in the game.
Yeah, and we're definitely gonna have to touch on practices and what those look like. So let's
Right.
kind of talk about some of the potential like roles that you might have when you're sitting down with a player. What are, and I know you touched on a couple, but I want to maybe expand a little bit on it. Maybe talk about, some teams you have, or maybe the teams that you have coming up. What are some type of role designations or roles that you might tell a player that you're asking of them to kind of start the season? What are some things, some roles you might put them in?
Well, I have a guard right now, a really, really good guard. He's strong, long arms, not a great shooter, but he can really run my team and he can really defend. So what I told him, and he thinks he can shoot, but he can't. He can't shoot right now. So what I told him is that, listen, what's going to get you on the court right now and what's going to get you extended minutes, I will need you to guard that best team's player. And that's going to get you on the court and get you on the court more. So he's really starting to, within practice, is showing me that he can do that. And I never said that, told him that he couldn't shoot. What I told him is that I need you to be able to be a star in this role right here, shutting people down. And then when you have those open shots and you're able to make them, I don't have a problem with you taking them because I always tell my guys, this is not a my turn type of thing. It's not, oh, I'm open, it's my turn to shoot. And I know people watch basketball games and they'll say, why didn't he shoot it? That's not his role. He's not his
Hmm.
role. So and he got to pass that ball. And the next time maybe he'll be able to, once he shows that in practice or whatever it may be, that he'll be able to take that shot. And I know we've seen that. We've seen that guy that last year didn't take that shot, but the following year he worked on it. And that same guy in that same spot will take that same shot. But that's something that he's worked on and he got his role expanded. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
And for players, like what I think is really helpful about this is like you're it's very clear, it seems like exactly like this is where I see you, this is
Mhm.
like where it is that you're at right now, this is where you could go, but right now this is what I see from you. And always it seems like you're having the conversation, if you want to do like this, then here's what you have to do at practice. Like you give them kind of that roadmap of like this is what you got to do if you want to go kind of beyond what that role is.
100%. And it's really that simple. And this is what when it goes back to being coachable. Somebody that's coachable will be able to accept that, understand that, and execute that. And if you can do that, that's going to make you a much better player. Now, the ones that's not coachable, they're not going to be able to accept that. They're not going to be able to execute that, and it's not. Then it's going to hurt them in the long run. So I'm really big on communication. One of the things that I really do is after every practice, we talk about it. Do you think you were good in your role today? Do you think that you were good in your role today? Do you think that you were out of your role? And circle the guys up, and then I go
Mhm.
around and I let each guy explain that to me. And communication is very important. So that's one of the things that I do as well.
Let me ask then about, since we brought it up a couple of times, let me ask you about practice. So when you're structuring your practice, um what does kind of your practice structure kind of look like, and how does it kind of help players kind of work on, being getting better at whatever their role is on offense or defense, or even,
Mhm.
maybe having opportunities to expand it. What does that practice structure of yours kind of look like?
One of the first things that I do, the first because we usually have the gym for about 2 hours. So my first 30 minutes to 15 to 30 minutes is really just letting the guys work on their shooting.
Hmm.
Grab a partner and they just work on their shooting at game speed or whatever it may be. But that's their time to individually work on their game, and that's getting shots up. Maybe it's doing some footwork stuff. Maybe it's catch and shoot stuff. Maybe it's whatever it may be. But that's their time to work on those individual skills. After that, then we go through and we they get a little lather. I have a little layup package thing that we do. Of course, with all the stretching and all that stuff, but we have a layup package that we do. And then the layup package after that, then we go into our mid-range shooting, and then we go to our three-point shooting. Then after that, we will stop, cool down, walk through our defense, go through our defensive stuff, the rotations, just walking through it, and guys got questions, we'll break that down just to work on our defensive stuff. After we do the defensive stuff, we'll go over our offensive sets, or let me change that. After we do that, because that's the half court defense, we'll go into our full court defense stuff, whether it's trapping, pressing, whatever. Maybe we'll go through that. We'll spend some time on that. After we do that, the next thing we would do is we will work on our offensive sets, walk through the offensive sets, and then we'll do some half court live stuff. Oh, not full court of speed. Work on that half court stuff, and then after that, we'll do just a package of everything we worked on. Our full court press with live pressure, our half court stuff with live pressure. Then we'll scrimmage towards the end to go through everything that we did. And then after that, we kind of end with free throws. So it's kind of something like that. That's kind of our package of how I run my practice.
And then you said at the end, right, you're having those conversations with your players about like what happened.
Yep. After we finish the free throws and we scrimmage, we get everybody around the circle. We have a thing where everybody must be around the circle at half court, and then we'll go. I'll tell them, look, I thought you did this. I thought you did this well. I thought you played your role today. And then I'll let them say what they thought they did and how can we improve and get better at that. That's part of the mental part of the game that we're working on as well, because you have the physical part of the game and then you have the mental part of the game. So that's kind of how we wrap everything up. And then, of course, then other days, so it won't be monotonous. We'll do just the skull practice. We'll watch video and blah, blah, blah. But I run it almost like a college practice. Our stuff is almost like a college practice.
And I mean that I think that skill though of what you talk about at the end about having those players communicate with you, that's something that at least I know in my experience, like players got to really be taught how to have that conversation, how to express themselves, how to communicate themselves, because I imagine, especially in a competitive environment like you're in, like players can be their minds can kind of maybe be all over the place, or they might be, really trying to articulate themselves in a certain way but not really be able to, and they might need some help like how to almost process everything so they can have like a good conversation about like what went well, what they need to work on, stuff like that, because they take it real personal, I know.
Yeah, coach, believe it or not, out of everything we do, that's the hardest part,
No, I
just
believe
getting
it.
these guys how to communicate and talk, because this is a generation of Twitter and texting, and that social dynamic is really difficult. I grew up where you had to talk. If you didn't talk, you wasn't getting fed. These guys is a little different, so that's why I do the circle. It kind of forces them to communicate, because of which I think is very, very important. You have to talk. You got to be able to communicate. So that's why I kind of get them used to talking, because trust me, out of anything we do in practice, that's probably the most challenging thing, getting them to communicate.
Yeah, and it's a skill that like, but you got to, and like you do, you got to really make that intentional. I think it's part of
Yes.
what you do in practice, because if you don't, like, they won't talk.
No,
That
they
those
they
conversations
won't
won't
talk.
happen.
That's something that has to be a part of practice. That's why I said we get them around. That has to be something that you work on with them, because they're not going to do it. Trust me, they're not. And I know that they're not going to talk. They
Yeah.
they will not. You have to almost beg them to talk. So what I do, that's a part of another my reward. And so your communication today was great. Yo, the Gatorade on me. Make guys want to talk. It's like a reward system. You have to reward these guys. My reward was like, I just love being out and play back when I played, and we just taught. It was natural. It's not as natural for these guys today.
Yeah, yeah, and so when things are happening in practice, and like we talked about, you got players who are, in their role, and you kind of have what you kind of see as what they're supposed to be doing as their role. Um, you talked about how players can maybe expand their role or get more opportunities based on the work that they do in practice. So as a coach,
Mhm.
what are some things that you're paying attention to and you're looking at during your practices to maybe say like, oh, okay, I see that, this player's doing X or Y, so I'm going to make sure I remember that or make note of that. What are you kind of observing or taking notice of as practice is going on?
Great question. One of the main things that I'm working on that I observe is that when we're doing our shooting drills and all that stuff, and a guy that's normally not really making shots, and I'm seeing him make shots on a consistent basis, making 10, 12 in a row, or just things like that. I'm like, wow, this guy's really becoming a better shooter. Then it goes from that to when we're starting to do scrimmage things, and he's hitting those same shots again. And then it goes to when we're doing the live scrimmage and going, and then he's still making shots. I say, and I'll have my assistants and I'll go, yo, you notice this dude is starting to make more shots. He's really shooting the ball a lot better. And then we get the games and he's making, oh, we got to start, I got to start running some sets for him. Or, we got to get this guy some more shots. Or, if this guy's open, swing the ball. You don't see him here, get him the ball. He got to get that shot because he showed it to me in practice. So when I see those type of things, I think always, if I see a guy on the defensive end, yo, this guy's really rotating well. He's really taking that chart. We got to get him in there. I just start making me think more, maybe on the defensive thing, we got to get this guy in the game more because he'll be able to shut people down, or he's going to be that rotation guy to take that charge. So, like I said, I see you doing those things in practice once we're working on it, and then you're doing it in the live scrimmages. That tells me right there, I think you're ready to expand your game.
Yeah, and that what's great about that too is players know, and I imagine actually that you talk about like players know like what it is you're looking for too, like they know what it is that you're going to be rewarding and what it is that's going to take them to that next level. So those things that like you emphasize that are really important to you as a coach, you're going
Right.
to be seeing those on the court because their players know I got to be showing this and really making sure you see this as a coach because I know if I do this, then this is possibly what I'll get more playing time or whatever because of that.
Or the reward. That's going to be the reward for
Yeah.
them. Like I see it, you're going, like I said, just like it's a reward system. Like I said in the beginning, it's a
Yep.
reward system. I see those things. You are going to now earn my trust. You earned my trust, and I'm going to trust you. The reward is that you're going to get an opportunity to do that thing, and that's the way it works. And
Uh,
it goes back to, and it still goes back to the communication because I'm sitting with them. They can never say they don't know what coach wants because we communicate all the time. So that's very important.
yeah, I no, I can tell that those words are never coming out of your mouth because you're a clear communicator for sure.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
so one of the things that I know some coaches might be, hearing this and they might be curious about, wondering about is, as you mentioned, right, the playing time that's what matters, and players know that like
Yep.
they got to do their role and then obviously go above and beyond that role if they're going to get more playing time. And so
Yep.
one of the concerns I imagine some people listening might have is how do you kind of keep your team working as one and playing together as a team when they're all kind of fighting for those opportunities to play and be on the court? How do you make sure that they're still playing together and not trying to, do too much or be too selfish or be like too much of an individual on the court?
Oh, well, one of the things is that, like I said, we determine roles. We know who's
Hmm.
going to be really handling the ball, who's really going to be taking the shots. Because what I usually say, this is our number one guy, who's number one scorer. And the reason I say that because he's earned it. And he's shown that. Here's our number two option, so he's going to get the second bulk of shot. I usually have three main guys that's going to take, and here's our third guy right here. Everybody else, you got to go. You better go offensive rebound. You better go do this. You better go do that. And if you're open, you better be able to make a knockdown shot. And I reward once again making the extra pass. I reward guys on making, if you're able to make the extra pass. So we do just like I do a point system with deflections. You get a deflection, you get a point for that. You get a charge, you get 2 points for that. You get a block shot, that's a half a point or a point and a half. The charges are always valued higher. I always give more points for charges because you're really totally giving up and
Selling
sacrificing
out for
yourself
that,
for
yeah.
the team. So I always give more points for the charges. And then like I said, you get a block shot, you get a deflection, you get a steal, point system. Same thing with on the offensive end. If you're able to make that ball go around the horn, you make the extra pass instead of for a good shot for a great shot. So we talk about things like that. Oh, yo, man, you had a good shot and you gave up for a great shot. Yo, that's an extra point for you. And now that makes them want to make the extra pass. Now they're holding the ball and being holding on to the ball, and the ball, I call it, you freezing the ball. That's like freezing somebody out. That's a negative. And you know what? I might even sub you out for that, because you stick, the ball is sticking. Why is the ball sticking? Move the ball. So everything, like I said, is a point system. It's a communication thing. So they know. We say, don't freeze the ball out. Why are you freezing the ball? Move the ball. Don't let it stick. Oh, you don't get it, sub. So he'll get subbed out for just holding the ball too long.
Yeah,
Now that lets him know he needs to move the ball.
yeah. I mean, it kind of sounds a little bit like some of the stuff that I know that we do as coaches. Like that. That's one of the
Right.
easiest ways to learn,
Listen,
right?
all
This,
great coaches think alike. Trust me
this
when I tell you. Anybody that has a sense of knowing the game, they is always, it might not be the same type of uh, uh antics, but it's the same type of philosophy. It has to make sense. So that makes sense.
yeah, the bench is a great way to teach players, I think.
Trust me.
Sitting next to me is one of the
Yep.
motivators, and it's funny,
Yep.
some of that, so those players know, and I'm sure you've had that too. I'm imagining now in my head situations where players know that they did something they didn't, and you can almost see that they know. They hear that whistle in for the sub, and they're like, they know it's me. They know it's
Oh yeah,
them going out.
trust me, my players, they know, because we're talking through the game. Oh, so, and they're just walking towards me. They know, because like you said, they know. They know they're coming out because you didn't do what the hell you're supposed to be doing. So you got to come sit next to me. Sit next to me. Come
Yeah.
think about it. I always say, come think about it
Think
for a
about
minute.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Um, so some roles, obviously, not every player is going to be a star player. Some players are really going to be the ones who are your defensive guys, your rebounders, your
Yep.
guys who are out there um doing the gritty work, doing the tough work, the stuff that may not necessarily even show up on a stat
Right.
sheet. So along with the things that you mentioned, like how do you make sure, and how can coaches make sure that those players are, really embracing and really excited about their role, and know that their role is just as important as anything else that's going on the court?
Well, one of the things that I do is that when a guy makes a great defensive play or is diving for the ball, we have a rule that you have to really get over there and help him up. And as once you help them up, you get in a huddle, you do a two clap, and everybody got to make sure that guy that did that play, you got to pat him on the backside or tap him on the back and show acknowledgement. You know how North Carolina, when the guys come out, everybody had to stand up. North Carolina been doing that for years. You got to stand up, show your appreciation. So we have an appreciation thing where you got to tap the guy on the backside. You got to clap for him. And if I don't, and that can get you on the bench too. Because that means if you're not doing that, you're not showing appreciation for your teammate, that means you're thinking about yourself. So if you want to think about yourself, you could think about yourself on the bench. You can sit right there and think about yourself. So you really got to show acknowledgement to your teammate, and just give them a point, something. If I don't see, and it works the other way around, if I see bad body language or negative body language, my players to this day right now, they'll take, coach is going to take you out because you're showing bad negative body language that affects you and the team. So you're going to come sit there, you're going to come think about it.
Yeah.
So to me, everything is a reward system.
What you said reminded me of a guest that I had a few years ago. I think from the New York area too, and she talked about
Yep.
touches. She talked about
Yep.
touches a lot, right? And how
Yep.
people, you acknowledge each other and touch each other, and I know
Yep.
for my program that's that we do. Everybody gets up on the bunch. Everyone touches each other when somebody
Yep.
comes out and stuff like that, and you acknowledge each other. And I think that what I think is really really great is when you see programs and you see those benches who get like more excited for a charge than they do like a made shot when they like leap
Oh
up because of
yes.
stuff like that. I feel like that's when
Oh
you
yes.
got a team that's like bought in.
Yeah, and what I do as an analogy, I said, guys, when things are going bad or you don't feel well, especially this is where I always throw that moms into it. I say, because I always tell a lot of my guys, y'all mama's boys. A lot of y'all are mama's boys, and they say, why you say that, coach? I say, when your mother come in, the first thing you do is you brighten up. What do you all guys all expect? Y'all expect respect, acknowledgement for your mom. What makes you feel good about your mom? She cooks for you. She hugs you. You like all of that stuff, right? Yeah, we love that. It's the same thing on the court. Don't you think your players love when you come in, you give them a pat on the back, give them a hug, give you acknowledgement? That's the same type of feeling that we want to have, just like you have when your mom's is doing this stuff for you. So just remember that. You want to have that same type of feeling. It was like, yeah, coach, you're right. You're right. It makes sense. So with these guys, you got to have things that where it makes sense. So that's what I try to
Yeah.
do. Let's do stuff that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot, and I think that's a real good like comparison that all players can really
Yep.
understand. I like that a
Everybody
lot.
loved their mama. We
Um,
know that. Everybody loved their mama.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Sometimes they won't want to admit it to you, but you'll know. It's
Right.
like I know deep down, right, that you do. No,
Right.
that's
Right.
great. Uh, I know that there's a lot of different types of offenses, a lot of types of defenses out there, but in your experience, both playing and coaching, are there certain types of offenses or defenses that you think allow for like the most type of players to get the most opportunity to be stars and be successful in different roles? Do you think that there's like an offense or defense that does a really good type of job, like getting everybody like to maximize their skill set and play to their best?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question, and I know everybody has their different philosophies on things. My philosophy on things, is because of the type, it all depends on the type of players that you have. I usually have very quick guard, strong, athletic players. So my style of play is that we really want to get out and run and be athletic and get up and down the court, because that suits my team. Now that may not suit other teams. Now for my team, we have to play a faster pace, because we're very quick and we're very athletic, and that's going to suit us in a whole. And defensively, we want to play fast. We want to play quick. We want to get the other team rattled. We want to get them sped up because we're long, we're athletic. Those are some of the things we could do. So for my team, it suits me. Now, for other teams, they may not be quick, they may not be athletic. They might be a team that, great screen setters, great guys that can come off of pin downs, or great guys that could come off on a great screen and shoot the ball and do that. So I would say that all depends on what type of personnel you have. Because I'm not going to sit up here and say what I do with my team might be great for somebody else's team. It all depends on your personnel.
Yeah, and that requires, I think, as a coach to really make sure you know your guys or know your girls and know exactly what they can do and what they do well, and knowing that, like you figure out the system. It seems like that works best based on that.
Yep, exactly. And that's what we do. We have a system, a defensive system, the way we play, quick, fast. We have a system where we want to get the ball out. We do sideline fast break. We push the ball up the court. We want to try to get layups or quick shots, or it doesn't, or everything doesn't have to be a three, but we want to play fast. And then me as a coach, I understand if we're playing fast, we're going to make some mistakes. We're going to have some turnovers. So I have to say, are we, I accept that we're going to make some mistakes. So that's why we have another rule that I say we're moving on to the next play, because we know we're going to make some mistakes. Even when I see the mistake getting ready to happen, I may pissed off. I have to remind, yo, it's the next play. We got to move on to the next play. So because when you're playing fast, you're going to make some mistakes. So I have to accept that. I have to take the good with the bad with that. So that's another rule that I have. Let's move on to the next play.
Easier said than done sometimes. I know for
I
me,
know.
sometimes
I
you
know.
say that, and
Trust
I'm
me,
like,
I know. I
woo,
know. I
yeah,
know that. Yeah.
yeah. No, that's funny. So I'm curious if about some experiences that you have that you could share about players who maybe have expanded their role throughout the year. What have been your experiences of players who maybe started out a certain way and then like through their hard work and through their effort were able to gain your trust and get more playing time?
Well, it usually, that's another great question. That usually doesn't happen during the season. That usually happens during the summer
Okay, so let's
when
talk
guys
about what
get
happens.
better.
All right, let's talk about the summer then. Yeah, no, I agree. What
Yeah,
what what are
because
these
that
players
that
doing now?
usually happens during the summer, is that the guys come in and we put that time in the gym, and he shows me that he's been, working on the stuff to expand his game, and then he built that trust for what I've seen him do in the summer, and now when the fall come, he's able. I could say, "Yo, you can go ahead, man. I've seen you, and why didn't you take that shot? You've been hitting it all summer because I've trust the fact that he can do it. He wasn't taking it last year, but he showed me he can do it in the summer, and now I'm telling him, don't turn that shot down. You got to take that shot because you showed me you could do it in the summer. So that's kind of where guys earn my trust. It's usually through the summer workouts and things that we do, and they show that some guys they do get better during the season, but 95% of it is you get better and you gains a coach's trust in the summer through that summer work.
So then let's talk about the meetings that you have with at the end of the season. So do you have the specific type of like end of the year meeting structure that you have with your
Yep.
players? All right, let's
Yep.
talk about what that looks like.
So basically, what we do with that is at our end of the year meetings, we kind of wrap everything up, and I do this every year. I bring all the seniors in, the whole team in, and I tell the seniors, whether it's two, three, four, I say, guys, you guys can exit. And the reason I do that because they still a part of the team. We still love them, but guess what? Your time is up. You're not going to be really coming back. You're getting ready to move on to the next level in your life, whether it's basketball or without basketball. But now it's time for you to move on to the next level. So I usually ask them to leave. Y'all step out. And then I kind of go through what we're going to do with the guys that's returning. Yo, this is what you need to work on. You need to improve on this. Yo, you need to get stronger. You got to make sure you're hitting the weights. Everybody should be hitting the weights, but definitely you got to be in the weight room getting better. You need to work on your left hand and really work on your left hand. So I do a breakdown of each guy. And then after that, I'll go out, my seniors will go out, and then I bring my seniors back in, and then I'll talk with them about, what they're going to do. Because I just got to bring everybody in and let them know that this is it for them. Because we always talk about it's going to come to an end. We tell everybody you're going to be moving on to the next level. So that's why I always bring everybody in, and I just tell the seniors to live because they got to see that they're getting ready to go through that door and get ready for whatever coming next. So I want everybody to see that, feel it, experience, because that following year, those juniors are about to go through the same thing. So I kind of have a routine of the way I do things. But they all know what they all expected because everybody's have seen it over the
Yeah.
years. So it was like, yo, he's going, and now the next group coming in, and then I'll go through a whole ritual of what we're going to talk about with the seniors. Try to help them out, what they want to do if they're being recruited. Do they get offers or blah blah blah? What do you want to do next? Do I have to use some of my connections, reach out to people, or do you still want to play college basketball? What do you want to do? So, and I go through all of that with them as well.
Yeah, and what I think what that does is it seems like really does a good job of where you can just say like here's where you're at and this is what you got to do and this is like your summer upcoming
Yep.
to work on those things. Like if you're really serious about, being at this level next
That's
year,
the
you better
key
be doing
word. You
this.
just said it. If you're really serious. So you just hit it on the head because I tell that to guys all the time. If you're really serious and committed to what we're supposed to do, you're going to be getting up, getting your 500 shots. You're going to do your extra run. You're going to do that. That's another key word. Are you serious about this? Is this something you really want to do?
And I mean, for you, you can come in and you could really, you just tell them like straight up because maybe these players don't know, right? Maybe some of them don't really know what it means to
Right.
be serious about it or what it means to actually what it looks like to get better. I know that was something for me as a coach I've struggled with, especially in the past, is make
Right.
is communicating to my players like
Yep.
this is how much you got to do to actually see those results. Because I
Right.
think for at least in my experience, my players didn't really know how much had to go into, really improving your shot,
Yeah.
even if it is by a few percentage points. And I think that
Right.
those conversations you have are really helpful to like really let them know this is what you really got to be doing.
No, you hit it right on the head. It's like I said, it's communicating, executing and going out and putting that work in. Because I always tell everybody, when you ask guys who want to be a Division I basketball player, they all put their hand up. And then you
Hmm.
go, well, how many people are getting up 6 in the morning to go do the extra running? How many people are sleeping in? How many people are doing? So if you're doing all those other sleeping in and not wanting to really get up, I always tell them, stop lying to yourself because you're not going to be Division I players are doing that. And that's just a part of the ritual. So don't tell me you want to be a Division I player and you're not committing to those kind of things.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that this is it's almost like that's like the bare minimum at that level too, right?
Yeah,
This is like,
exactly. Because we
and
do when I tell the guys when I played at Providence, we were doing that and more. And when I played, there was no time restrictions. Now
oh
they
really,
have, you can spend a certain amount of hours in the gym. When I played, it was you could be in there all day. All day. Trust me when I tell you, you got 4 hour practices.
yeah, and yeah, that and so now like you really gotta like make the most out of whatever time it is you
Right,
got
because they
left, right?
because they only get a certain amount of time in the gym now. and
Yeah.
and 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 they have to get it. The rule is now they have to get one day off. When I played, you got the day off when the coach wanted to give you a day off.
When you were lucky enough to get one. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you got one,
like
yeah.
I said, everything has changed now. So, but I tell them you have to do that extra work. You got to be committed to doing that. So it's
Yeah.
about commitment. It's about commitment.
Yeah. No, I agree. What are your those players who really show that real potential and have that real like work ethic to
Mhm.
perhaps play at college or really play at a high level in university. What are your conversations like with those players who have those aspirations to play at the next level, at a high level, about what they need to be working on and what they need to be doing, to not only just be a star in whatever their role is in the high school team, but also, like you said, to really make sure that they're separating themselves to be able to be ready for whatever that next level looks like.
Well, you just hit it on the head. You just said the word. What are you going to do to separate yourself from everybody else? Now, your skill set and your talent is there, but what are you willing to do to separate yourself more? Are you going to be first in every sprint? Are you going to be the first in whatever drills we're doing? Are you going to be the best shot maker? For those guys that have that potential to be a Division 1 or a Division 2 or a scholar, I would say a scholarship player. How are you going to separate yourself? What are you willing to do to separate yourself? And if they're willing to show me that they're willing to separate themselves and be committed to do that, then that's when I'm going to really ramp it up with them, because I know that they're serious about what they're going to do.
Yeah, and I'm sure you have experience of players who, as we kind of alluded to, who think they know, right? Who think they
Right,
want it,
right, right.
but then you maybe put them through some workouts or tell them some expectations, and they're like, wait a minute, I don't know if this is really for me, sort of
No,
thing.
no. I tell them, and I tell them straight up. I say, no, no, you're not ready. You got to show me that you're not going to be a Division 1 player. Because you don't have the commitment, you don't have the motor, you don't have this. So it could work two ways. You could tell them that, and they could just bum out, or you could tell them that, and they're going to meet the challenge.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
that's the only way it's going to go. You're going to bum out. A coach don't believe in me, because that kids do that. Oh, he don't believe. No, no, no. It's not belief. It's the truth. I've been there. I've done that. I played that. It
uh,
has nothing to do with belief. I'm just telling you what it is. Now,
uh,
are you willing to do that? Then great. Let's step up and meet the challenge. Other than that, don't whine to me. Don't tell me, oh, coach, don't believe me. You don't. But no, 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 no. It ain't has nothing to do with belief. I tell that to players. It has nothing to do with belief. It's about facts, actual facts. Are you ready to do this? Are you willing to do this? Are you going to step up and meet the challenge? Otherwise, stop lying to yourself,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's not going to happen.
I mean, yeah, there's no, and I can, sometimes I'm sure those are hard conversations, maybe, those conversations, some players, that they think that, and some it's just like they need somebody to tell it to them, right? They need somebody
Oh,
to
coach, it's not a
better
hard
that.
conversation with me. Let me tell you why.
Yeah, yeah.
All the parents know what level I played at. I'm all over YouTube. They all see me. They all know what it is. So I got buddies and friends that I could call up, put them on the phone. That's uh either head coaches right now, or
Hmm.
assistant coaches at Power 5 schools, and I could always pick up the phone and say da 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 yo, and I'll put it on speaker, and they're gonna say, "Damn, coach, that's the same thing you saying."
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
what are you saying? Like, I always tell them, do you want me to prove a point? I could pick up Syracuse and call Adrian Autry. That's my buddy. He's from New York. He's the head coach at Syracuse. I could pick up the phone and he's going to tell you the same thing. He's the head man. So what else you want to hear? I could pick up Old Dominion. I could pick up Arizona State. I got people everywhere. So they're going to tell you the same thing. And
Yeah,
these guys are right there. They're not going to recruit you. You got to be ready.
yeah, yeah, and for some of them, right? It's just like you don't even like these schools don't they're not even like thinking, they don't even know you, and they're not trying to know who you are. Like they don't
I try to tell these guys all the time. If you are a Power 5 player or a scholarship player, they know about you. And if they don't know about you, they heard something about you.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
just the facts.
yeah. You can't sneak up on you.
You can't
I
sneak
know.
out. You ain't sneaking up on nobody.
Yeah,
You ain't sneaking up
everyone
on
knows.
nobody.
Everyone knows. No, that's really
It's true.
cool. Yeah, for
Yep.
sure. So I wanted, as we start to wind down a little bit, a couple
Yep.
more things that just kind of came to mind that I wanted to ask you a little bit about when it comes to being a star on your role.
Yep.
What are your expectations? And I'm always curious about this for coaches, especially those who coach,
Mhm.
high level athletes, about expectations for those who are ball handlers. And because I
Right.
think for those who handle the ball and who are ball handlers, there's so much that these players do with trainers and skill trainers and working on ball handling, and they have all these moves and all these dribble combinations. But I'm always like, what does that mean on a basketball court setting? So I wanted to ask you about what do you need from your ball handlers when they're out there on
Well,
the court?
that another great point. You're hitting everything on all that ball handling trainer stuff. It's cute. It's real cute. But college, when you play in Power Five, as I played at a high level, you're not doing 70 combinations. If you see one, if you watch Sports Center, you may see one highlight where somebody did something crazy that, but everything else is pretty basic, you
Mm-hmm.
know. To me, a great ball handler is somebody that can handle the ball, get the ball where it's supposed to be in a timely fashion without turning it over. That's a great ball handler. Everything else is tricks to me. I call that just tricks. But a great ball handler is somebody that values the ball, handles it well. Now, if he gets into a situation, maybe he's able to wiggle his way out of it. But 9 times out of 10, the game is very basic. So handling the ball is a very basic thing. Just get the ball where it's supposed to be, take care of it, and don't turn it over. To me, that's a great ball handler. You ain't got to do all that other stuff. It's cute, it's great for the videos and all that other stuff. But how many of those combinations do you really do? I'm not talking about the park. I'm not talking about Rucker, because I'm in New York City. We ain't talking
Yeah,
about Rucker Park.
yeah,
We
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
on a college basketball floor. How many times are you really doing all those combinations? Rarely, never.
And I said
So I
they
always tell
look
my
nice.
guys, yeah, it looks cute. That's why we tell it's cute. But how many times you really gonna do that? And once you do it that one time with a good college coach, and you're coming out of the game, and you might not never get back in.
Yeah, yeah, because I think for at least a lot of coaches I know that when that ball sticks, and that ball
Yep.
stays in one place and isn't going anywhere, man, that's a one-way ticket to the bench right there for
And,
a lot
and
of
trust
coaches.
me, I'm from New York City, where you
Yeah.
got all the great guards. But those guards, those guys, when you look at the game, they play the game basic. Kenny Anderson, my guy, very basic. And he had all the handles in the world. But Kenny was a get up the kick it ahead type of guy. Dave Ed was real good, but in the game, kick it ahead. I mean, we had so many great. Ray
Mm-hmm.
for Alston, he was the and one guy.
Ray Phil
But when he
Austin,
played in
yeah.
the NBA, he didn't do that stuff. The
Yeah.
game was simple and basic.
Yeah, you couldn't really be busting out too many of those moves out there in
Nah,
the
you got
NBA.
so I tell everybody it's cute, it's entertaining, but when you really get on that court, you better get that ball where it's supposed to be in a timely fashion, in that shooter's hand or in that big man on the post, and let them work. And yeah, but it's cute, but it ain't gonna really happen too much in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
real
yeah.
game.
So it'll look nice in pickup though, maybe, and then it'll
Right?
look
Yeah,
nice in
pickup is
pickup,
great. And,
one
and
on
and
one.
pickup, you could turn the ball over 20 times. Ain't nobody
Carry
gonna
the
say nothing
ball and
to you.
do all those things.
Right. So the
Yeah.
pickup is great,
No,
but
no,
in
yeah,
the real game, I don't think it's gonna be happening
yeah,
too much.
yeah. Before I hit my last couple concluding
Yep.
questions, I did want to give you a question about advice that you would give to a coach who's maybe a new coach or a coach who's taken
Yep.
over a new program and they're really trying to figure out where everybody's at, what everybody's like skill set it is, and try and
Yep.
figure out what their role is. What advice would you give to maybe that new coach to be able to best figure out like where everybody's at and make sure that they know where everybody's skill set is?
For a new coach, I would say it's a couple of things. Number one, whatever your system is or whatever it's going to be, you got to trust it, believe in it, and really work at it. And number two, for a new coach, have a mentor or somebody that you can really trust that knows what's going on, and somebody that you can lean on and take advice from, and believe in what you're doing. You have to. If you don't believe in what you're doing, how you gonna get your players to believe in what you're doing?
Hmm.
So those would be the three things that I would say. Trust in what you're doing, work really hard with it. Have a veteran mentor, somebody that you trust that really knows what the hell they talking about, that you can lean on and assist you with that, and believe in what you're doing, because you can't not teach somebody something and you're second guessing or questioning yourself about it. Then how you gonna get those kids to believe in what you're doing?
And I think to your point, like you said about having that mentor, having somebody
Oh
with
yeah.
more experience, somebody who's gonna also, at least I know I needed that in my case, somebody who's telling
Yep.
me when I'm wrong, somebody who's
Yep.
telling me like, hey, like, well, you got to be doing this, or you really should think
Yep.
about doing this,
Yep.
because I know I didn't need a bunch of yes men around me, like that wasn't
Yep.
gonna help me as a coach. So Yeah, no, I think that's real key, and always, even when you get experience, I'm sure you could speak to that too. When you get experience as a coach, you always want to have people on your staff who are gonna, in a good way, right, question you
Yep.
or wonder about something, disagree with you, feel like they can
Yep.
disagree with you, that sort of thing.
You know how many times I've had arguments with my assistant coaches, and that's great because you're saying no, no, it's this way, and they could be saying, but this is what I'm seeing, and I've done that plenty of times, and I'd be like, no, listen, this is what it is, and then after the game, I go, you know what, man, you might have been right. So, and it's people that I have good relationships with, and I could be stubborn and something that I really believe in, and it's still the same system, but they might have said, maybe we might want to go with this person and might execute a little better. And sometimes I've learned to say, all right, let's try it. Let's go with it. Because you got to believe in the person that got your back.
Yeah, and if they see something, and I know I've been on that experience before, where you have a coach who maybe has an assistant, their assistant has those ideas or things that they want to talk about, and if they have that head coach that doesn't listen, or
Right.
never listens to it, eventually the assistant coach isn't given those ideas anymore. Now they're
Right.
not gonna say
Yep.
anything, and then it's like, man, that now what? And then I think in my experience too, players can pick up on that too. They kind of know when
Yep.
there's that like disconnect and these coaches don't really get along or they're not on the
Yep.
same page. And I've seen, players play coaches off each other and stuff like that. And
Yep.
man, it can get pretty messy pretty quick.
Yep. You're 100% correct. So that's why I always trust in my assistant coaches, and if they give me a suggestion, I'll follow it, listen to it, or think about it. But I'm always listening to my
Hmm.
assistants. They there to help you. They're not there to see you do right. They there to help you.
Yeah, and
So
that was the other thing I was about to mention, and you brought that up too. I mean, at the end of the day, right, you and your staff should all be about getting players better and working with players. They all should be on the same goal. And I think
yep.
that that's, if everyone's working for the same thing, that your assistants or whoever are coming at it with a place of care, right? Because they want what's
Yep.
best for the players and the kids. And sometimes those conversations get a little heated, but it's all for the
Yep.
right reasons.
100%. You
Yeah.
hit it right on the
Yeah.
head. I agree with you 100%.
To wrap up, Coach, there's a couple questions I ask every guest. I'm going to go ahead and start with this first one, which is thinking back on your coaching career and all your experience as a coach. What is an experience that you went through personally as a coach that you think our listeners would be able to learn from?
One of the things was, and I'm pretty sure every coach may have dealt with this, is some of the challenge I have is when it comes down to sometimes disciplining players. When it's a big game, and you have to make that tough decision because of a team rule, or maybe they didn't do what they're supposed to do in the classroom, or maybe sometimes they didn't do what they're supposed to do at home. I get a call from a parent, and sometimes I have to sit a player because of that, and sacrifice a win because you want them to. I want to win in life with them overall instead of just always worrying about winning a basketball game. So I've learned to value life lessons better than sometimes in a win.
Yeah, and I know that's really good. I know I've been there in the moment sometimes where like yeah, just get focused on the win and loss, and I
Yep.
kind of forget right some of the other things that were learned along the way. And I know sometimes it's taken me some time and some reflection
Yep.
to actually to learn about that because I think we can get real caught up sometimes
Yep.
in the wins and the losses, right? And kind of forget sometimes that bigger picture, that other stuff that
Yep.
we really need to be paying attention to. Awesome.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's to me, it's very important to me,
Hmm.
very vital that we gotta let these guys understand that you want to. At the end of the day, we want to because basketball ain't gonna last forever. You're gonna win in
Hmm.
life, and
Hmm.
I believe in that. And I've had to sit guys and sacrifice some of my best players, sacrifice the loss, but in the long run, it'll help them in life.
Yeah, it's kind of that short-term loss, long-term gain, sort of
Yep.
thing, right? You've learned in the long run. I like that a lot. Awesome.
Yep.
To wrap
Definitely.
up, Coach, I give every guest kind of what I call a 60-second soapbox, but you can go over 60 seconds. I'm not going to time you. That's
Right.
fine. But it's kind of like your platform to get out like a final message, a final idea, just kind of a closing thought that you want to leave the listeners with. You can kind of take it any direction that you want. So, Coach, I'm just going to kind of open up the floor to you, and I'm going to go and let you take it from here.
Yeah, well, one of the things I would say to any of the coaches out there, male, female, young coach, old coach, really believe in what you're doing. Do it for the right reasons. Uh, teach these young men and young ladies that the game of basketball is a great game, and take advantage of it and enjoy the opportunities, because it really doesn't last that long. I'm a living proof of it. I thought basketball was going to last forever. It doesn't. It goes really, really quick. And also tell your players that once they get finished playing this game, that it's their duty and responsibility to give back, uh, to teach the kids what you've learned. Because I always tell my players, it's very selfish if you keep it to yourself for the knowledge that you learned and don't give back. My mentor, my coach, always told me, for all the knowledge that he's given me, what makes him proud is that I'm now giving back to those young men that I coach right now. And if you're a young lady, give it back to the young ladies as well. So that circle, that fraternity can keep going, especially when you're doing it the right way. So that's what I would say.
I know for me as a coach, just to have like a former player or two of mine coaching, that's like
Right.
one of the greatest feelings in the world I
Yeah.
think I've ever had as a coach, right?
Right. Yep. Yep.
Man, you're doing it, right? You're giving back or whatever. And I've had guests who talked about how they've had former players coaching against them, and I'm like, man,
Right.
that would be something, right?
Yeah. It's a great thing, great feeling. And when I, like, a lot of my guys that come back, they're now telling me, oh, they're 27, 28, and they're coaching now. I'm like, damn, I had you when you was 14.
Yeah.
Because it goes so fast.
Yeah. They were kids when they came to you. Right now, they're like men.
Right.
They're like adult men
Yeah.
now. It's like, oh man,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Coach, I really want to thank you for being able to come on here and talk about basketball, but really more than basketball. Talk about players, talking about roles, talking about just great coaching in general. I mean, I got a lot out of this and stuff that I
Yep.
wrote down that I'm going to take back and reflect on and use in my program, and I know our listeners did as well. So best of luck this coming year, Coach. Keep doing the great stuff that you're doing, and best of luck this year, Coach. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Same to you. I wish you all the success in the world.
I really appreciate that,
And a
Coach.
great
Really
show.
appreciate
Great
all of you
show too.
listening.
Did an
This was
excellent
another
job.
edition
Great
of
show.
the Basketball Teacher Podcast, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Make sure to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.